Welcome to Reclaim the Pink Within. I'm your host, Dr. Christelle Oliver Dussault, and this is your space to pause, breathe, and return to yourself. One story, one insight, one conversation at a time. Let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today I have with me quite a special woman. Kayla is her name, and we met a few months ago thanks to social media. I was new enough to the community of Kamloops, where I live now, and I was feeling isolated and the need to connect with other like-minded women. And through Instagram, I saw her company called Fullest Table, who curates events to connect women, different theme, supper club, conversation, connection. And I went to one of her events and absolutely loved it, made some wonderful connections. We have stayed in touch since, and she gave me a lovely opportunity to speak at one of her events on motherhood and ambition a few months ago. And over our multiple coffee dates, she just seemed like the perfect person to bring onto the podcast to talk about her own experience of motherhood, the struggles that she has faced, and how that's impacted her and how she has navigated that. So, welcome. Thank you for
Thank you
making
so
time
much.
to chat to me today. Before we dive into your journey into motherhood, would you mind sharing with our audience a little bit of who you were before you became a mom?
That's an excellent question. I have always been a creative, I think first and foremost. Um, I have bounced around from thing to thing, a lot of different kind of career ideas, ambitions, enthusiasms. And right before I became a mom, I was running my own clothing line. I had a
Mhm.
natural fiber loungewear line. And this was before COVID hit, before loungewear was cool. So I feel like it was at the right time. But um, yeah, and I absolutely loved it. I loved making clothing. It was such a fun creative outlet. I got to work in a studio alongside one of my best friends who has a clothing
Mhm.
line as well, still does. And she kind of taught me all of her knowledge, which was beautiful. Before I was a mother, I was a wife. I honestly got married pretty young.
Mhm.
And so I've been married to my husband now for 8.5 years. And I've always been an extrovert.
Mhm.
I think I denied that for a really long time.
Mhm.
But I'm a people person through and through.
Mhm. Yeah, and that really
Yeah.
shines through all the work that you do. So tell me a little bit about your, suppose, first pregnancy and how
Mm.
things shifted for you with your firstborn.
Yeah, good question. Um, Pregnancy is not a beautiful state for me, to be honest. I've dreamed of being a mother my whole life.
Mhm.
I always wanted to, like, have that beautiful pregnancy experience that was, like, this beautiful, gorgeous goddess earth angel just carrying
Mhm.
life and blossoming. Um, not that. Not that for me
Okay.
at all.
It is
I have a
a
really
lot.
hard time. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a really
it's
hard
tough.
time being pregnant. Yeah. And yeah, during that first pregnancy, my business definitely struggled. My ambitions
Mhm.
tanked. Uh,
Mhm.
I really tried hard to keep things going and with my clothing line and kind of just like maintained for a little while. And then I got pregnant again really, really quickly after my first.
Mhm.
I had the most glorious, gorgeous postpartum experience with my first, which I don't think
Mhm.
a lot of people get to experience. So I feel super blessed for that. It was the best year of my life, absolutely. And it was so good that I just couldn't wait to do it again. And I ruined it by getting pregnant again. Thinking, "Oh, it might be different this time." And it
Mhm.
was much worse. It was much worse
Okay.
the second time. Yeah. So halfway through actually, not even halfway through my pregnancy, I was probably still first trimester. We were living in
Mhm.
Victoria at the time, and
Mhm.
I said, "You know what? I need my mom.
Mhm.
I can't do this." So we
Yeah.
packed up our whole life and we moved back to Kamloops, which is my hometown.
Mhm. Tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about that wonderful first year, because I think it'll be nice for women to hear, because a lot of the
Oh.
times on these calls, we've talked about the struggles, but I think it's important them
Mm.
to hear about positive experiences as well.
Yeah, for sure. I was young. I was 25, just turned 25 when
Mhm.
I had my first. It was so novel, I think, was the
Mhm.
main part of it. Like, I had been dreaming of this having a baby thing my entire life, and I was one of the
Mhm.
first in my friend group to have a baby, actually, probably the
Mhm.
first.
Mhm.
Um, so it made me feel special. And I was so deeply, deeply in love with my baby, just like
Mhm.
madly deeply. He was a great baby. He was super, super easy. Since then, that has changed. He has become a far more
Mhm.
challenging child. But that first year was, I don't know, it was magical, it was blissful. My husband and I's relationship actually was still pretty new.
Mhm.
We had a bit of a shotgun, immigration marriage, so we had known each other for
Okay.
6 months before we got married, and,
Mhm.
so about a year and a half before we got pregnant, we'd only been together, so there was still,
Mhm.
a little bit of that kind of honeymoon phase that we were working
Mhm.
through, living through, and, Victoria is a gorgeous place.
Mhm.
Beautiful city, very walkable, and our neighborhood was lovely. We loved the place we were living, and it was
Mhm.
such a lovely time of year. It was just coming into fall, so we would just walk around the city together every single day with the baby and watch the leaves
Mhm.
change, and yeah, I don't know, it was special. Despite, like, a pretty
Mhm.
traumatic birth and delivery, it was a really special
Mhm.
time. Mhm.
Yeah. It sounds like you had
Yeah.
some lovely moments of bonding with your husband as well too.
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
notice a shift in your relationship, once, your baby came along?
For the better at first. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, just kinda we were moony over each other, like, "Look at what we made.
Yeah.
Look at this beautiful
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
made."
Yeah.
When the 2nd pregnancy hit, that's when things started to get tough for us,
Okay.
understandably. 2nd pregnancy, I was, like, basically out for 9 months.
Okay.
And my husband was taking point on parenting with our
Mhm.
one-year-old.
Mhm.
And it was, yeah, it was really hard. I had to stop working. I was
Yeah.
like on the couch. I mean, I probably don't give myself enough credit. I survived, but it was really hard for all of us, for sure.
And probably not
Mhm.
what you all expected either.
Not at all. No.
Mm.
A lot of unexpecteds through the journey, I'll say that.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit
Mhm.
more when baby number 2 came along,
Mhm.
how did that transition from 1 to 2 go?
So my second child was born with a rare genetic condition.
Mhm.
Um, so it was really awful. It was really,
Mhm.
really horrible. Towards the end of my pregnancy, I could barely stand up. I was in so
Mhm.
much pain. I knew early on, I had an intuition that the baby was going to come early. I knew he was coming
Okay.
before my due date. And he did. I went into labor at 37 weeks.
Okay.
And, I was bursting at the seams.
Mhm.
He ended up, despite being 3 weeks early, he was 10.5 pounds, and he was
Wow.
posterior. Yeah, he was upside
Yeah.
down, so,
Mhm.
he came out flat. He wasn't breathing and had to be resuscitated. I gave birth to him at home, so he was taken immediately to the hospital.
Yeah.
Um, and when he got there, they checked his blood sugar levels, which is actually a
Mhm.
miracle. Like, if he hadn't come out flat, that his blood
Mhm.
sugar probably wouldn't be checked because that's not protocol at birth.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
protocol in the trauma bay at the hospital. So they checked his blood
Mhm.
sugar and it was at 1.2, which is like nearly dead.
Okay. Yeah.
So they were able to get him his blood sugar stabilized, and we spent the
Mhm.
first month of his life in the NICU. Um, so that was just really tough. Like, I had a 2-year-old at home. He wasn't even 2 yet. He was 1
Yeah.
and a bit. Um,
Mhm.
who again, I felt I had to abandon basically to be there for the baby.
Yeah.
At our NICU in our NICU at the time, we didn't have, like, separate rooms, so I wasn't allowed to stay the
Mhm.
night there, and we were kicked like, NICU parents were kicked out of the space a lot, and we just kinda had to stand outside while the
Mhm.
doctors and nurses were talking because of
Mhm.
confidentiality reasons. So it was really
Mhm.
tough. And at the same time, we were like peak pandemic, peak COVID
Yeah.
times, and it was like the worst fire season our city's ever seen. So it was
Mhm.
49 degrees on the day, 49 degrees Celsius on the day he was born. Started
And you
raining
birthed
ash. I did. Yeah. Yeah.
well.
Um so the postpartum period was just like a disaster, to be honest. My granny
Mhm.
also died while
Okay.
My baby was in hospital, so I didn't get to go say goodbye to her, and her and I were very close. And,
Yeah.
we were just navigating this new thing. He got diagnosed about 3 days after he was born with a condition called Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome.
Okay.
So there was just so much up in the air, so uncertain. It's a spectrum disorder, so we didn't know what we were really dealing with. So
Mm-hmm.
there was just so many extra levels to the postpartum period that
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting, and that added a lot of strain and challenge for sure.
Mhm. How did it affect you?
I got really sick, actually.
Okay.
My body shut down when Wyatt, our second born, was about 18 months. Um,
Mhm.
and actually, I should go ahead and say too that during this period of time, we actually attempted to move to England as well, which is where my husband is from.
Oh.
So we, at one point during this whole thing, I think Wyatt
Because
was
life
4 months
wasn't
old.
stressful enough as it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I think when Wyatt was 4 months old, we put our whole house into a shipping container and got on a plane and moved to England. Well, attempted. We lasted 7 months before we were back again, but,
Okay.
yeah. So, just to add some more to the perfect storm,
Mhm.
um, so isolated and sick. Um in a country I didn't know very well. I mean, I
Mhm.
had my in-laws and stuff there, but it's still a whole other world, and despite English culture being pretty close to Canadian culture, it was still a culture shock for me.
Mhm.
Didn't have my people, was postpartum, nursing so many emotions, trying to navigate the medical system anew in
Mhm.
England. I was, like, on
Mhm.
the phone crying every day, um, to try to get some help and to get some support with my baby.
Mhm.
So I started getting sick, like, I started having a million different symptoms during the time that we were in England. The first one was chronic post-viral symptoms.
Okay.
So I had a sore throat constantly, my
Mhm.
sinuses were always infected and in pain.
Mhm.
Um, I had a sore ear all the time,
Mhm.
my chest was always sore. I started having, like, body aches and pains. I became chronically fatigued. Um, Laundry list, like, my
Mhm.
TMJ, which I've had for a long time, but it flared up really, really badly.
Okay.
I so many things. At one time, I wrote them down, and I think I had, like, 21 different symptoms. So I
Okay.
just felt like my body was shutting down, and,
Mhm.
I was like, "I think I'm dying, like, I must have cancer." When we came back
Mhm.
to Canada, I went and saw my doctor, had every test done in the book. He basically diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome, ADHD, and
Mhm.
depression, which
Okay.
all of those things were, in my opinion, a lot of them were kind of like, it felt like they were like a catch-all for when we don't know what's wrong with you, we kind of put you into
Yeah.
these buckets.
Yeah.
He offered me antidepressants. I said, "No, thank you," because that's just not really my thing. I've been on them before. I didn't wanna do it again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it kind of after that, yeah, it was really disheartening. I woke up on New Year's Day when Wyatt was about 18 months old, and I was like, "I can't live like this anymore." I couldn't get out of my bed, for a while,
And you have
and
kids as well.
I decided I couldn't do it anymore, so I went down a rabbit hole after that.
Mhm. And during that time of sort of spiraling, body shutting down, was there a moment where a light bulb went off or you recognize, okay, this isn't, I need to do something different? How
Yeah,
did
I
you not?
mean, yeah, I did what most people do when they're in health crisis is I went on all the diets, and
Okay.
I saw all the specialists and to, like, rule out certain things, and I
Mhm.
saw all the alternative practitioners and the
Mhm.
naturopaths and the blah, 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 and I still felt terrible, honestly.
Okay.
Symptoms would go away for a little bit, and then they'd come back, and then my
Okay.
mom sent me a podcast, and it was called The Cure for
Okay.
Chronic Pain, with Nicole
Mhm.
Sachs. And I listened to one episode of this podcast, and by the end of the podcast, I was symptom free from listening to a podcast. And I know that
Wow.
sounds nuts, and it felt nuts, but I was like, "Oh my goodness, something's happening here. And that's when I recognized that I had a mind-body disorder and that there
Mhm.
was nothing physically wrong with me. And
Mhm.
just knowing that that was real and that was true and that was a possibility
Yeah.
gave my nervous system enough safety for the first time in I don't even know how long to turn
Mhm.
off all those alarm signals that have been causing my symptoms.
Was there anything particular in her podcast that she said or that was covered that made you have that
Hmm.
light bulb moment?
I don't know if there was like a specific phrase or anything, but
Mhm.
it was just like realizing there was nothing wrong with me, I think, and
Mhm.
understanding that how the nervous system works and
Mhm.
realizing that it was actually doing what it was supposed to be doing in order to um, keep me alive, basically.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was what really made me feel um, like a sense of safety in my body.
Okay.
And I
And
settled.
then yeah.
And then the symptoms all came back.
Yeah, how long did you before it came back?
I would say it lasted a few days,
Okay.
um, where I was just, like, free. Like, I was like, "I'm gonna go for a
Mhm.
run. I'm gonna eat
Yeah.
a piece of cake." I was so excited. But then, yeah, as soon as life hit again and
Mhm.
stressors started to come back, my nervous system kicked back into old familiar
Mhm.
patterns.
Yeah.
But it was a starting point for me, and it opened up, like, this
Mhm.
Pandora's box of possibility, and, I mean,
Mhm.
understandably, I went down the rabbit hole and I started learning
Mhm.
everything I could possibly learn about the nervous system. Um,
Mhm.
I I would say I was probably about 85% healed within 3 months,
Wow.
give or take, which was like a whole new lease on life.
Did you do any courses or one-to-one therapy, or what did you find, or is it just more listening or reading? What did you find helpful for you?
So I started with just like absorbing as much information as I could on the subject.
Mhm.
I listened to endless amounts of that podcast, The Cure for Chronic Pain. I found the work of not doctor, he's not a doctor, he's a therapist, Alan Gordon and Alon Ziv.
Mhm.
They have a
Mhm.
book called The Way Out and a podcast
Yeah.
called Tell Me About Your Pain. And that was like
Mhm.
massive for me, that podcast.
Mhm.
Um, I found the work of Rebecca Tolan. I did a little bit of her course. At the time, there was a business called Somia International. They've changed, or no, they're Somia International. At the time, they were CFS school, Chronic Fatigue Syndrome School,
Okay.
by Jen Mann and Cardin Rabin.
Mhm.
So I did some of their course and then I got certified. I became a somatic practitioner and nervous
Yeah.
system coach. So I did a whole bunch of learning and courses on that.
Mhm.
And yeah, here I am.
Yeah. Turned your struggles and your pain into a career, really.
I
How
mean,
did
it's
you
not my main career, but it's
no, you
certainly,
you wear
yeah.
a lot of hats, but it's
Yeah. I
still
do see clients
you
one
are.
to one, and I love that, and I
Mhm.
probably always will because sharing what I learned feels so good.
Mhm.
But actually, it's starting to beautifully translate into another world, into the world of
Mhm.
Phyllis Table, which is
Mhm.
fascinating to watch how
Yeah.
the nervous system affects every part of life and how it
Mhm.
factors so deeply into community building.
Yeah. You mentioned that a lot of the podcasts and books that you read were related to chronic pain.
Mm.
Where did you feel pain when your nervous system was activated?
Well, I'm kinda everywhere, to
Okay.
be honest.
Okay.
The
No
worst was,
specific
like, yeah, I mean, there was a
Mhm.
lot of specific places. I had, like, facial
Mhm.
pain, I had ear
Mhm.
pain, throat pain, I had neck pain at one point, I had back pain at one
Mhm.
point,
Mhm.
jaw pain. It was mostly focused up here.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
And was there anything in particular along your journey of learning that you find you still use today that's very helpful to you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think probably the number one tool that I use is called somatic tracking. Um,
Mhm.
I was first exposed to that through that Tell Me About Your Pain podcast,
Mhm.
and it is so relevant for everything in life, not necessarily just pain,
Mhm.
but for sensations and uncomfortable sensations and emotions in general.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, really cool. But there are so many things that I learned along the way that I've taken with me and that are
Mhm.
part of my toolkit now.
Super. Tell me a little bit more about the somatic tracking for those listeners who haven't
Mm.
heard of that concept before.
Mhm. Okay, how do I start? I just when I get into somatics, I just wanna, like, explain the whole nervous system. I don't really carried away. Um, I'm so passionate about it, but essentially, the idea of somatic tracking is locating a
Mhm,
uncomfortable sensation. It doesn't even have to be uncomfortable, but for the purposes of what we're talking about now,
mhm,
locating an uncomfortable
mhm,
sensation in your body, and following it, getting to know it,
mhm,
understanding it, and just watching it from a place of kind of curiosity rather than fear.
mhm. That's
It's incredible
beautiful.
to see what comes
Yeah,
out of it. Like, it seems so simple, but
yeah, yeah,
it makes a big difference, yeah. Mhm,
it does, and it's quite a
mhm.
new feel in terms of mind-body connection and can be really helpful in trauma work as well too. Um,
Absolutely.
Throughout this whole process, was there a moment where you felt like you didn't recognize yourself anymore, like you felt completely lost, like you had no direction?
Oh, a long moment, yes. A big, big, giant moment. Um, I would say probably that 18-month period from when my
Uh-huh,
2nd son was born on was
uh-huh.
probably yeah, it was an 18-month moment.
Yeah,
Plus
yeah,
probably
yeah.
some scattering,
A
and
very
there has
difficult
been
season.
yeah, and there has been, I won't lie, like, ups and downs, and there have been big moments
Mhm,
where I have felt that again since then, like, it's not a linear
mhm.
process at all.
Yeah,
Um, I have had a lot of setbacks,
yeah.
but I know now that I have the resources to come
Mhm.
back again, so it's not nearly as devastating.
Yeah. Do you have any specific red flags that you recognize in yourself that help you kinda take the foot off the pedal and be like, "Mm, okay,
Yeah, for sure.
I've got a little bit too much or my jar is about to overflow."
Yeah. For me, because the physical symptoms were so big, those are kind of my
Mhm.
telltale signs. I always start
Yeah.
to get ear pain. Ear pain is my first
Okay.
tell that I'm overly stressed.
Okay.
And insomnia probably, like not being able to
Yeah.
sleep because my brain's just like rolling like crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then what are
Yeah.
the tools that you tend to connect to when you pick up on the ear pain or the,
Mhm.
mind wandering?
Yeah, so somatic tracking is my go-to. I
Yeah.
love to use a technique called pendulation, which is essentially like focusing on, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with these, but
Mhm.
it's focusing on the uncomfortable sensation and then resourcing a positive sensation in the body and kind of shifting between the two.
Yes. Yeah.
And then my other most used would probably be like intuitive movement or shaking. So
Mhm.
I think that one of the most powerful tools in somatic work is movement, and it can feel
Yeah.
really uncomfortable to
Yeah.
allow your body to move in ways that don't feel familiar, but
Yeah.
to allow energy to move through the body that way is like super, super powerful. So often when I'm having a time that feels challenging, I will commit for like a single song. That's my container,
Mhm.
one song at first, so it
Yeah.
doesn't feel too overwhelming. I roll out a yoga mat, and I just let my
Mhm.
body move in the way that it's telling me to.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it can be our bodies are often ahead of our minds, and
Mhm.
so we'll get signals from our bodies, like you were saying,
Yeah.
and then you can try to use, accessing your thoughts and working on those, but oftentimes you'll need to work on the body, get out of your head and work on the
Yeah,
body
it's
before
the
the mind.
foundation. Absolutely. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
do want to name too that like there are a lot of seasons when I am having those kind of cues come up that something is
Mhm,
wrong, that I'm feeling dysregulated for a long amount of time, and I don't do the work. You know,
mhm,
like even as somebody who is a somatic practitioner and somebody who's been doing
mhm,
this for a long time now,
mhm.
sometimes I ignore it and I don't do the
Yeah.
work and I lay in my bed instead and I watch Netflix. And like, that's probably not always the right choice. Actually, it's definitely not always the right choice, but sometimes that's the way it is because that's life.
Yeah.
And eventually I find my way back.
And sometimes you do need to give yourself permission to pause like that and
Hmm.
just lay in bed. And I think a lot of
Hmm.
times in ambitious people like yourselves, these feelings of guilt will come up when you're trying to take your foot off the pedal and rest. And
Hmm.
it's okay to give yourself permission to not use the tool and just binge
Totally.
watch Netflix.
As soon as it
You need
becomes a job, it's also just, like, no longer, like, effective.
off.
I always say that to my clients. I'm always like, "If there's a should or a need attached to it, please don't do it.
Yeah,
If you
it's
can't
not worth it.
approach it with a sense of curiosity and maybe even playfulness, then don't do it." You're
Is
just gonna
there
cause more
anything?
dysregulation.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share for our listeners, for any maybe mom who's pregnant or someone who's got in the throes of it, who's
Mhm.
struggling, that might give them a breath of fresh air or a bit of hope?
Mm, mhm. Um, just because of my personal experience, I'd say, like, look into the nervous system.
Hmm.
Start learning about your nervous system, however that might look, whether it's a book, and I have lots of resources that I can share,
Hmm. Hmm.
or a podcast, or if you want to talk to a somatic practitioner, even just like a discovery call. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, just start educating yourself a little bit about how the nervous system works because, like I said, like even just having that information can create such a lovely felt sense of safety that can be a great starting point.
Thank you for that. I'm going to finish
Mhm.
with a quote that you sent me, which I absolutely love. And I think speaks to, your ethos and how you run multiple aspects of your life. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. That's from the book of Matthew in the Bible. It's such a
I probably
good
shouldn't
quote.
repeat that. But it is,
It's
I
beautiful,
think
isn't
it's
it?
something, yeah, and something that everyone
Yeah.
can take with them and interpret in their own
Mhm,
light.
mhm.
So
The good
thank you
stuff
for
is on the
sharing
other
your
side of
journey.
challenge, all of it.
It is, yeah. And there's so much to be gained from the work. And I
Mhm.
think you provide so much to our community and all the different facets of your work. And so if
Oh, thank
someone
you.
is listening and hasn't heard about somatic therapy, I invite you to explore it further. And I'll include some of the resources that Kayla mentioned so that you can explore them. Take care,
Oh,
everyone.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
The information shared is for educational and general informational purposes only. Although I am a medical doctor, I am not providing medical, psychological, or professional advice specific to you or any individual. This podcast does not establish a physician patient relationship, and the content should not be used as a substitute for personalized medical care, mental health support, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your own physician, mental health professional, or qualified healthcare provider with any questions you have regarding your health or well-being. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to share it with another woman who might need it. And if you feel called, leave a rating or review. It helps grow this community. Remember, you are not lost, you are becoming. I'll see you next time on Reclaim the Pink Within.